Welcome to Sassy and Successful, where you're going to hear stories full of stress, success, and lots of sass. I'm Michelle Castillo, your host, and with me in my very first episode, and I'm really honored to say this, my friend, a gorgeous woman, an amazing human being, the owner of two Pilates studios, Rise North Melbourne and Rise Essendon, and I dare to say the Pilates queen herself, Laura Saggers. Yay!
Thank you. I feel so honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Laura. I'm really grateful to call you my friend. And probably you don't know, but even my mentor in so many things, I look up to you. And that's why I wanted to have you as my very first guest.
God, my heart. Likewise with you.
Oh,
thank you.
I love you, Laura. You are a successful businesswoman in the whole world, extent of the world, a boss babe. I dare to say that. And an amazing human being. You started Rise Pilates not long time ago. Well, 8 years ago.
8 years.
That it doesn't seem to be a long time ago, but you did it before the Pilates was a thing, before we found Pilates studios like next to the servo station.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit on how Rise Pilates started.
Wow, thank you for that intro. My heart. But yeah, you're right. I did start Rise Pilates, the first studio, before the really big Pilates boom. And I was lucky enough to find a studio 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer now, 11 years ago. And I just fell in love with Reformer Pilates myself. So I started as a client in that studio, and I've got a son. At the time, he was only 4 years old. And going to class, it was only maybe 4 times a week. That was like the one thing I started doing for myself. And I noticed just how transformative the exercise and also putting yourself first and being consistent, and also in the class taking progressions at the same time, getting stronger, not only physically but mentally. That was massive for me. I was also studying to be a primary school teacher.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was very early days, and I like to think that I'm quite determined, and it was just not gelling for me. It was feeling like really heavy.
Yeah.
And throughout high school, I'm definitely not like a genius of any way, shape, or form, but I can write an essay, and it's pretty good.
I
and
always
these
say
essays
this:
were
I'm
really
the funny
hard.
one of the family. My brothers are the smart ones. I'm the funny one, and I made peace with that.
yeah, exactly. But I did like quite well naturally, and when I was doing primary teaching, Bachelor of Education, just wasn't working. Like, it was so hard for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, something doesn't feel right. And I don't think it's not that I can't do it. It's just heavy because it's not right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I ballparked that, went and did my Pilates teacher training without any expectations whatsoever, other than it was just going to help me when I did class. And I was like, I'm just going to know how to train myself better. And then, it kind of was a really big snowball domino effect from doing that course.
Yep.
And I came out teaching really good clinical one-on-ones. I ended up working at an osteo first.
Oh.
And then I did end up working for the same company that I originally started going to do classes at. They were a franchise, and they were growing rapidly at that time too. They weren't that big, but they were just starting to expand, and there weren't any other studios. You're right. There wasn't, other than where I was working, there weren't any other like independent studios that you could kind of go, oh yeah, like I want to be like that, or like model off. It was very much
new.
Yeah,
You're
new.
one of the OGs of the Pilates. Even like 2-3 years ago when I started, like I remember that when I said like, I'm doing reformer, they were like, what's
that?
Reformer? And I was like, the machine, the strings, the suffering, the pain, the sweat, like
exactly.
Pilates.
How you don't know?
Yeah.
So from teaching and just throwing myself into it, I eventually just started to gain more skills. I was a bit obsessive. Like, I'm not going to lie. I loved it so much that even off the bat, when I started doing group reformer, the very first like month of teaching, I think I cleared over 100 classes. Like, there weren't that many studios around. So I used to sit on the covers page and just take covers all around Melbourne.
Yeah.
And it would be morning, night. And I remember just ticking over those 100 classes like in 3 weeks. And so like my like, yeah, the speed of like growth was rapid because I was putting in everything all at once.
Yeah.
So I think whenever you do that, no matter what, you can't help but get results.
Yeah, of course.
And then it grew into also like a little bit of studio managing, like all that on the side, scheduling, hiring instructors. I was the first teacher to teach at 2 new studios opening. So I got to see 2 Pilates studios open from scratch.
Yeah.
I was really lucky. And yeah, it was literally just a domino effect of putting in effort and just taking the next opportunity as it came and growing with it. And eventually I hit a glass ceiling and I kind of went, okay, well, the next thing is to open my own. But I never, ever thought it would be by myself. I thought it would be within the franchise, or I did look at another franchise in another state in Australia too, and went down the process of, franchising, and it was great. And to me, it was like having that support system that I had kind of grown so much in was all I could imagine. I couldn't imagine doing it myself. But I was very lucky. My dad and my stepmom like backed me from the start. They were the original investors. My stepmom was my silent partner for a long time. Yeah. And she's like the business mentor that I've had from the get-go. They could see it. They were like, just do your own thing. And I was like, no way.
Yeah. You know what?
Yeah.
I realized that it's harder to put hope in yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you're good to take the name of someone else, like the brand of someone else. But when you put hope on yourself, that's the hard stuff.
Yeah. And no one knows it. No one knows you if you like branch out of that. It's like, who is this person? What are you doing? Like,
yes. It's like, and we'll get to that, the name.
Yeah.
Like, when you start familiarizing with that name, that's going to be your brand, and you get like goosebumps.
Yeah.
Like, is it going to be even like, that people doesn't forget it? Like, is people going to be thinking of that? Like, you want a name that people, it's going to
sticks.
Like,
yeah.
Link to your brand.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to put hope on yourself. It's harder to put hope on yourself, and it comes with the imposter syndrome. Like, I'm not going to be able to do it. Like, what am I doing? And then starts becoming real. Yeah. Like, when you get the money and it's like, oh God, I was hoping for them to tell me no.
Yeah. It's like, this is hard now. Yeah. And also there's like so much more pressure because like you it's not even your money you have to pay back. Like, you're actually like, you've got so much on your shoulders to be like, no, this has to work.
Yeah.
Like, there's no buts about it. But yeah, I ended up finding after the process, it took about 9 months really in its entirety, 6 to 9 months. And I found the studio in Essendon that we're in currently.
So
walked
that
up
studio
with my
in Essendon, it's the first one. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And it didn't look anything like it did now. And I remember walking up the stairs and my dad came with me. And at that point, I was still thinking franchise.
Yep.
And in it, like going down the franchise avenue. And I walked up and I literally looked around. I got goosebumps and I was like, I know what to do. And Dad was like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously, like in the franchising process, it didn't fit their criteria anyway. And they were so beautiful. Like both of them, I like have nothing but positive things for that whole journey with both of them. And yeah, I think the Pilates industry in general is
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I've landed into the Pilates community by a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
And I think I had a couple of mental breakdowns in the studio before.
It's my therapy.
It's my therapy. It's my
yeah.
therapy. I swear it's my therapy. Like, any day that I'm just like overwhelmed, I go to Pilates and I focus. Like
Yeah.
I'm an overthinker. I have depression. I have anxiety. So my brain, it's like,
Doesn't stop.
no, never, never.
Yeah.
Even when I sleep, like I have vivid
Wake up,
dreams,
yeah.
and I wake up and I was like, I told someone at work like 2 days ago, like I had a dream that I was fighting for a sale with someone, and he was like, "Why are you even dreaming about work?" I was like, I don't know, my brain
doesn't stop.
No, but Pilates, I found that grounds me.
Yeah.
Like I need to be at the moment because either I injure myself or I fall or both. Like, like I need to really be, my body needs to be there because every movement, it needs to be done carefully. And
you're focused.
Yeah, you need to be focused. And I found so much support and peace in the Pilates community. And I'm so grateful that I actually landed in your studio because
Same.
when you enter there, it's like
it feels like a hug.
Yes, it feels like home. Like I don't feel that I'm working out. I mean, I feel it afterwards.
We die,
Like 2 days ago, I went to class and I was going out and I saw a couple of girls having a drink in the bar, like two doors down.
Yeah,
and they saw me and they saw my face and they were like, "How was Pilates?" And I was like, "Look at my face, like shut up. Look at my face. I'm leaving now." I mean, yes, my body feels it, but my soul, it's different.
Yeah.
It's just, as you say, like a hug. Like I'm just like, "Oh, please hug me, Nat." Like I'm sure you're gonna kick my ass today, but just hug me. Like,
yes, it's true. It's true.
Amazing.
And it does. I do think it does switch off your brain too. I relate to that when you do a class, because you're focusing on the like what you're doing, it's quite challenging. Maybe you've gone a little bit more weight or spring resistance, the next level, and you can't help but think, okay, just 10 more. And that's all you can think. And then the next thing you know, the instructor's like, okay, next exercise. And then you do it all over again. It's 45 minutes of just focusing on the next step.
Yes. It's when they start telling you, like, I don't know, one arm or one leg. And then you're like, okay, once we pass to the other leg, it's like it's almost over. Like we just, living it up. Like it's almost over. Like I can go through this. Like I swear it's a whole therapy at the beginning of like, oh God, why did I came here?
Yes.
But midway it's like, come on, we can do it. And at the end it's like, woo, I did it. So I swear it's like therapy.
It is therapy. Yeah,
so
for sure.
We spoke about the story already of Rise Pilates, but I want to focus as well on your support network. So I hear your dad, I hear your stepmom, I hear your baby boy that is no longer a baby boy.
He's not. He's 15 now, and he's so cool. I'm so jealous. I wish I was that cool at 15.
I know. You know what? The kids nowadays, they're super cool. Oh. Like I have my nieces there, and they're like 12, 11, 13, 15. And I'm just like, I want to be your friend.
Yeah,
like I'm 32 and I want to be your friend. Like,
do you reckon because they know themselves better than what we, like with the internet and things that they're interested in, there's more at a younger age to go, I really like this. Because I feel like that's with Finn, that he's just like into the things he likes and it's just so true to his personality and who he is. Whereas I feel like in high school I was like, do I like this? Do I like that? Yeah.
You know what? I've recently, I speak with my sisters all the time and their mothers, and the conversation always leads to their kids acknowledging their feelings and acknowledging who they are.
Yeah.
So I think the kids that we're raising nowadays are the kids of parents. Yes.
Yeah.
They're kids of parents that they went through that whole process and they don't want them to go through that.
Yeah.
So we
They're
tend
more
to be more, so we tend more to be more open on like, what do you want? What do you like? Do you like this? No? Okay, let's pass it. Do you don't like this? Okay, let's go through. So we're more understanding when back into the day, our parents were like, if we were in ballet,
take it or leave
and
it.
it's like, I just signed you up for ballet. Like, are you telling me that you're going to leave? No way. Like, I paid 3 months already. You're staying there. So it's like, when now it's like, don't worry. Like, we'll find out.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not our parents. It's the way, they were raised and it was another generation.
It's just generational. And it is, I think you're right. This generation is way more emotionally tuned in.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's beautiful. I
It
think
is.
it's something beautiful.
Yeah.
Instead of like, being like ignorant, it's the right
Yeah.
word of like the problems out there. I
Yeah.
feel there's kids that are more aware of their surroundings
Yeah.
and the situation that people are living out there.
Yeah.
And
It's true.
and it's beautiful.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
So
But-
yeah, he is 15. And yeah, when I started teaching, he was still in kindergarten. So he was basically home with me. And the first year was a little bit easier because we had like the daytime together.
Yeah.
But then as soon as he went to school, it's like if I was teaching early morning, late at night, even though I may have had like a little bit of time during the day, he wasn't home anymore. He was at school. But with Finn, I'm so lucky. My mum has been like my biggest like angel in the world. And I had Finn when I was 20 years old. So I was quite a young mum. Finn's dad and I separated just before he was 3.
Okay.
And I moved in with mum. So up until 2 years ago, I lived with mum. So maybe like 10 years, I'd say. But throughout this whole process, I wouldn't have been able to do it without her and the support that she gave me with Finn. Mind you, she also works full time. So it's not like she was at home.
Yeah, just taking care of Finn.
Like, just taking Finn, being like, yeah, whatever. She also worked full time in high school. So again, full on hours.
Yeah.
Lots of after hours. So it wasn't easy. I also had my brother who was awesome. He's 2 years younger than me. And especially when Finn was younger, he was only like 23 and he'd be like, yeah, cool, I'll take Finn. It's like,
Young uncles and aunts.
Yeah.
We're the coolest, to be honest. Like with kids, it's like, what? Are you telling me that I can just misbehave with him and then just give it back to you?
I remember once when Finn he was probably like 3 maybe. And I can't remember. I was waitressing before I was doing Pilates teaching. And so I may have been out waitressing or something. And I remember one morning we woke up and Finn had drawn on the wall in crayon. And we were like, what did you do? And he's gone, I watched Graffiti Wars with Uncle Patrick last night. And I was like, wow, what did we expect?
Do I want him to take care of him still? Yeah. Do I want to still? Yeah.
But he had the best
Go with
time.
your uncle.
Like,
Here more crayons.
We can paint the wall. It's fine.
Yeah, you know what? I think back to the topic of the kids, I think that's also a form of expression. Like back in the day, we like draw like with pen. Yeah. Like our parents were like, that's a wall. Yeah. It's like can be painted, but it's all right. And the kids now have like more freedom of expression. Like if you want to, it's crayon.
You fix it.
Yeah, you fix it.
You go, well, probably don't do that.
Yeah.
But it's not like oh my God.
Yeah, the world is going to end.
No, exactly. And that's the difference, I think, too, that it's like teaching in a way that, you're educating them and it's not making them feel bad and shameful that they've just like done something that they thought was cool. Like,
of course,
Even though we don't want him to do it. And we definitely don't want him to do it again. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Outside, I think we went and got chalk for outside. We were like, we can
Water
do it outside in the driveway.
Yeah. And you still can like do what your uncle says.
Yeah, exactly.
But with chalk.
Yeah. So I've been very lucky that I've had my dad and my stepmom business side of things and my mom and brother on the other side. And it really did stay kind of close. Like they have always been my support network. Yeah. And even to this day, anything Finn, I'm like, Mom. And then anything business, I'm like to my stepmom, Marie. Like as soon as anything pops up, even like last year, the studio was like, 7.5 years? And I'm like, Marie, what do you reckon I should do?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm very lucky.
We never stop needing our parents.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. I live in Australia. My parents live in Mexico. My dad sometimes, the other day, my washing machine, there was an issue.
Yeah.
And I FaceTime my dad. And he was like, put your arm between the gap between. And here it goes, like Michelle putting the arm. And he was like, turn it around. And I was like turning the phone. And I was like, Dad, Like, do you know how funny this is? Like, if the neighbors see me through the window, they're gonna be like,
What are you doing?
what? But he's like
he
my
fix it?
go-to. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
did fix it.
See?
Yeah,
He coached you how to fix
did.
it, and then now you know how to
Yeah.
fix a washing machine. Happens again.
And he's
you're
like 17,000 kilometers away.
Yeah.
So, and
How do you go with that? Like, that would be so hard. I often think that. Yeah, one mental breakdown at a time. Classic. Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you, but survive.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess. And that's another thing I want to go through as well. That when you start growing, you
Yeah.
start realizing that eventually, and
You
sadly,
outgrow.
your parents
Yeah.
are not going to be there forever.
Yeah.
So you start. I mean, you have your mental breakdown
Yeah.
of like, I'm not gonna have my mom soon,
Yeah.
and your mom's still there.
Yeah.
So it's just. I think with my whole process of healing from last year, it was like acknowledging the people that it's around me and be grateful and extend that gratefulness for
Yeah.
them to them and make sure that the moments that we have
Yeah.
here are memorable enough for me to not be crying at their funeral saying like, oh, I
wish
should have
I-
done
yeah.
more this or that. So it's like
true.
just
Makes you cherish the moments that you do have.
definitely.
And I think distance too does like help almost because you can take it for granted too. Like the day to day, you end up in like particularly with my mum and when I lived with her, like you do kind of get into a rhythm where I wouldn't even see her for a week sometimes. It's just like housemates in and out. Like, and you don't actually sit and have a conversation. My dad and my stepmom are in Newcastle, so they in just above Sydney in Australia, like not Newcastle.
Yeah.
That's true. And yeah, the time that you do have when you do see them, you do cherish more and it's like more. So it's funny that you brought up like those moments where you're like, oh my God, they're looking at me.
Yes.
I do that. And it's, now that I'm like, okay, I need to do more with my mom. Like,
you make them
that is,
actually
like,
last
meaningful.
longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you can actually leave your phone and say like, I'm here now with you and I'm going to take the most out of it. And it's sad and happy at the same time because I had to go through moving across the world to share that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I try to do it that way. I message my mom daily. My dad, he's not that into WhatsApp and things like that. He's more like, hey, Dad, how are you? Hi. So like dads, dads. Like I think everyone's dad, it's like that.
Yeah.
So, but I'm gonna see them actually in April.
Oh my God,
So,
amazing. Are you going there or they're coming here?
So I'm going to Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, wow.
So we're meeting there. So yeah,
Amazing.
can't wait. To be honest, can't wait. I'm going to disappear for 10 days.
Yeah.
Oh,
You won't know yourself.
I know, I won't.
And family time.
Yes,
it's amazing.
It's just nieces, nephews, brothers, sisters, mom, dad, and their partners. So yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Yay. Amazing.
One of the things, another thing, speaking of family that I wanted to go through, it was precisely Finn. So I know there's a lot of moms out there that they have the mom's guilt of like, I'm doing my own thing and my boy is gonna, be raised by God knows whom.
Yeah.
But it was with your mom. Like it's not that it was with a stranger.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about like that mom's guilt.
Yeah.
If you ever had it and how you see it right now. It was not that a big deal that you see Finn and he's amazing and he's this cool kid and you still get to do what you did.
Yeah.
So
it is. I think it is a very hard thing to navigate no matter where, as a mom, like no matter what, whether you're in a relationship and it's both your child or like any type of partnership. I think it has its challenges with career versus kids as a woman and as a mom.
Of course.
I like I said before, I do think I'm incredibly like almost privileged in a way that my mum was so willing because not all mums, even though they can be the best ever as well and be like, yep, I can do this day. My mum was literally like, I'm home. Like if I'm at home, leaving with me, I don't mind. And being your mum too, like I trust my mum so much that there wasn't ever a doubt in my mind that if something was wrong, she would call
you
me
straight away.
and she would look after him and like how she like I just inside
Yeah, she's
out.
an extension of you. So you know
Yeah.
she's gonna like.
And I honestly don't, if it wasn't for her, I don't even think I would be able to teach. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know that I would have been able to do this as a career, because I can see, especially the amount of time at the start that I did put into it to get going, like teaching all those classes initially, like that eventually dies out. You can't sustain that ongoing. That's ridiculous. But the adrenaline at the start and then just putting in that much effort, I wouldn't have been able to leave him with anyone else. And even if he had to go to her house, like the fact that it was our house and he was at home, he was already in a routine at night times because I had already been waitressing. So I think having that already set up really helped. But I think the flip side of it was I knew that if I didn't do something for me and like essentially for us, like to set us up, I would have been caught kind of in just a lower rat race. So that was kind of the trade-off at the start and it was also like the driving factor too, to go, okay, I need to do this for like
I just
us.
inscribed myself to 100 classes per day
Yeah.
to teach 100 classes
Yeah.
per day. Like,
Exactly.
Mom.
And then I also think it was kind of a catalyst to open my own studio because I knew it was unsustainable the older he got.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing drop off and pick up as much as like I maybe got to do it twice a week, 2 mornings drop off, 2 afternoons pick up, which is still like a whole heap that he's going to before and after school care. And one of the goals after opening Essendon, the first studio, was to be able to do drop off and pick up. And it just so happened that we moved house and Mum wasn't even able to take him to, like, everything kind of fell into place at the right time. Like the studio had enough instructors, So by the time like my goal came, I literally had no option but to take him to school.
Yeah.
And then also I just
have nothing to do. I think I need to take Finn home into the school.
I actually had instructors like ready to take, and like the business was ready to have instructors teaching that much as well. So it's funny how things happen that as soon as you kind of lose it, I knew it was unsustainable for that to be going on. And for him too, like he was fine at the start, but it is, I think there is still guilt because like I went from spending like every single day with him up until prep pretty much, like joined at the hip besides, like I said, waitressing in the evening. And that was only like 3-4 nights a week. It wasn't even like I was there every night.
Yeah.
And then to school and then having big chunks of time not seeing him for like, if I worked in the morning and then that night, I wouldn't see him until the next afternoon after school pickup. It was hard. It's funny now because like he's so together and he's so, I see it. And I know that down the track that he will understand, and it's almost, I don't say motivational for him, but I do think that you look at your parents and especially the older you get, you realize like what they have done for you.
Yeah.
And like even now, like I'm still going like, oh my God, like what they've done for me. Even the older I get, I'm 36 now, and I know it will continue that even when you get to your 40s, you're like, oh my God, like what they did and what they went through, and you see your parents in a different light. So I do know that in some way it will shape him on the other side too, to go that you can do hard things, and he already can set himself up for success, but even more. Yeah. What I'm trying to say is that I hope he finds it inspiring.
Yeah. I think, I mean, it's definitely an inspiring story from any side that you see it. It's a resilient story. I mean, you waitressing, then taking all the classes possible. I mean, if you're a Pilates instructor and you didn't have a class available a couple of years ago, she did it.
I do it. I did.
So at any time, I mean, at any point of time, did Finn told you like, Mom, I want to see you more? Or like,
he was actually really beautiful, and he'd always be like, he was super, super supportive. There were like maybe a couple of times where it was really hard to leave him. Like he never actually ever said like, don't go, or I don't want you to
yeah.
work or anything like that. But I like you just like the attachment feeling, you'd know, oh, it would be so nice to just stay home
Yeah.
with him. Like tonight would have been one of those nights. But
Yes.
there's no option when you're a Pilates instructor. It's like,
Yeah.
you're going. Like,
yeah. I'll be
and-
back. I need to yell at
and
women
even
in
and even
reformer.
sometimes too, like with Pilates as well. I remember like early on too, if you was sick, I you can't get a cover, and you've got waitlisted classes all night, and it was really hard. And I remember one time driving like 45 minutes to mum's school just to drop him off after school with my mum so that I could drive 45 minutes back
No.
to be at the studio to teach. And I was just
That's
like, this is
passion.
madness. Like, this is madness. But like, yeah. And sometimes now when instructors are like, oh, I'm like, mate, if you knew what I went through. Like, yeah, but it is extreme. So,
yeah, definitely. It's I'm pretty sure Finn is gonna find it inspiring. It's one of those things that you cannot avoid feeling motivated, and I think that's one of the things that I always see on you. Like when you don't give classes any Saturday or any day of the week that I don't see you on the schedule, it's like, Larry's not here. What is happening? But then you come back and you say like, this woman like broke her back to get to this point, like where everything is settled, like she has the right people in the right places. You build a beautiful community that including that instructors, that you feel the love and you feel the extension of yourself in your instructors. And there's no need for you to set a foot in there, but you still like every Saturday, once in a while that you go and you see your people, and you're enjoying right now the rewards of all the effort that you've been doing since your 20s.
I think I definitely got to that place, but since opening North Melbourne last year,
yeah. I'm going there. I'm going there.
I feel like that was like a rude awakening, a second studio, and because I do feel like with Essendon, I've like after 7 years, everything becomes autopilot. Like you just kind of know what's happening when da 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 da, and I would just like do it. And it was like you said, like I was just going, okay, like I've set this up. This is like clockwork now. I've done the hard yards. And then, so North Melbourne is with my partner, Nathan.
Yes.
Who is amazing, as you know, and he's really good. He's really good at teacher training. Yeah. He's been running his own workshops. He's a reformer Pilates instructor as well. And he's been running his own workshops all around the world. Like he's the last 2-3 years, that's all he's done. So it was a no-brainer to do a studio together, like with both of the skills. But I think North Melbourne took so long in setting up. It was like 9 to 12 months before we actually opened the doors, which is a long drawn out process when you're constantly like trying to be prepared that it could happen any week, any month. So I think the drawn out process of that, and then also everything kind of happening so quick as well. Like as soon as you open the doors, I was just saying this morning, I was talking to a friend and I was describing it, and it kind of almost reminded me of having a baby. Like that was the best way to say it. It was like 9 months of like being pregnant, waiting for it to like knowing that you're going to have another studio, being as like prepared as you possibly can. And like I already got one. So it's like, I know I've done this before.
I've done this before, yeah.
But then also as soon as it all happened, like the workload and like just everything, I was teaching again, which I was, like you were saying, like, but then I was going back to doing, I think I had like 12 classes a week at this, which doesn't sound like too much, especially when I was like 40, 50 classes.
If you do it, if you're 45 minutes in there, you're going to feel it. Yes, it is something. Don't say it's nothing.
But so the 12, like that, plus everything else, plus trying to navigate. It was like almost like that first like week of having a baby where you're just like, oh my God, I can't,
What have
I got to keep it
done?
alive. I've got to be here 24/7.
Yeah.
I'm so tired. Get back there. So that little period, but I do think we're through. North Melbourne's 9 months old now, and I do feel like we've finally like got into a really good rhythm. Nate's doing like more of the teaching there and training the trainers, and then it just leaves me to do literally everything else on the back end.
Yeah.
So, which is good, and we're in a rhythm now. But like what you were saying with the teaching, I love, like that was the reason why I did it, like in the first place. So there has been like almost like a letting go this phase
Yep.
of like realizing that yes, it's a passion. Yes, I love doing it when I'm doing it, but you've only got so much energy. And like you're saying with Finn, with family, with 2 studios now, with 20 instructors,
And your pups. Don't forget your
yeah,
pups.
and the dogs. And the dog, literally the dogs. So and that they're babies. Like
Yeah.
you gotta like they need, they're like Finn.
They're babies.
I'm like-
Yeah.
I got 2 golden retrievers.
Yeah.
So.
You tell Finn,
yeah.
tell your brother, and the dog
Yeah.
like
Yeah. So like that's probably been the biggest realization in the last 12 months, that you only have so much time and energy, and whilst like teaching it, I just can't do it how I used to.
Yeah.
And we do have, like you said, the most amazing instructors that I don't need. Like everybody's there to keep building it. I
Yeah.
don't have to do everything. And if you can't tell, I'm very independent. I like to do everything. So it's a lot of letting go. This like last little
Yes.
bit, letting go and like being okay. So it's huge.
Yeah, breathe, and you can just, what's that saying that in English, that it's, you can do as much as, I hate English not being my
The
first language.
translate, yeah.
Like you can just do as much as you can.
Yeah, you can only do as much as you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and that's
That's
literally it.
That's
like
it.
you
And-
cannot grow 2 more
No.
arms or grow another head.
No,
And, you know, like
Exactly.
think for 2 and like 2 brains
Yeah.
to manage
You
like
can only do
different
so
things.
much. And you do get, like this time I really did get pushed to that like limit, I think. I was definitely there this time where I was like, whoa, took on too much.
Yeah.
But you learn, and it had to happen too. Like I do feel like everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Me pushing myself to that limit, I still don't know the reason. Like I'm still waiting
trying
for that.
to discover it.
But because everything like business-wise was great, but I definitely pushed myself to the limit in that early stage where I was like, whoa, like this is massive. But yeah, and then you just peel back and you kind of learn to delegate more and work out, limits and a little holiday.
A little me time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like sometimes when you just go
MIA.
MIA, like no social media, and
Yeah.
I know like I'm really like sensitive on feeling other people's like humor.
You are really good
So
with that. Yeah.
So sometimes when I don't see you, it's like, this doesn't seem like
Is
a
she okay?
regular, like a regular breather. Like I'm just
It's too
messaging
long.
her.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and I think that's also something that I want to address with this, that not everything it's downhill. Like there's lots of uphills, and it's okay. It's okay to take it, and it's okay to say, I need help.
Yeah.
Like I need to take this off my shoulders, and I need help, because as women, we are always trying to prove that we can.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting.
It's
just
it's
like,
a lot.
you know, like you're trying to do it, but if you ask for help, you're afraid that you're gonna be looked at, oh, she couldn't do it by herself, you know? And and it's scary, and it's challenging, and it's awful that we need to think like that. But we're still human beings.
Yeah.
Amazing human beings, but we are still human beings.
Yeah, and
like,
we are. It's a human experience, and like it's designed for this. Like that's how you grow. Like that's, I think these moments and these opportunities is when you really do have to look at all the deeper stuff to go,
Yeah.
okay, how have I got here? What are the
Yes.
common things? Where is it coming from? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to work
Yes.
on? Is it taking an
What do I
action?
need to prove?
Yeah.
Like,
Who am
yeah.
I trying to prove this to? Like, what
Yeah.
is, yeah.
It becomes like before probably you were doing it like for a passion and then became of like, oh, I need to prove myself. But then
Yeah.
it's like, no. Remember, go back a little bit
Yeah.
and remember that you were doing it out of a passion.
And it's the heart. It's
Yes.
like yeah. And I do think like there's that 7-year, like last year, because that was 7 years at Essendon right before opening. I do feel like it was like just a trial and error year again,
Yeah.
where everything had been so, besides the first year of the studio, that was so much trial and error, and again, like over the years, lots of like tiny little adjustments to tweak it to get it better and better and better.
Yeah.
But last year I did try and kind of change things and like change colors and change branding a little bit, and we moved booking systems, and yeah, none of it quite worked how I thought.
Yeah.
Which again is like, it's hard when you're like that, those things just didn't gel how I thought they were going to. And so it has been like peeling it back to like the heart and soul, which it's funny that you say that, because it is. It's like that's what I'm trying to get back to, and particularly at Essendon, because I feel like North is actually like spot on.
Yes.
Like we nailed that, but I did trial things at Essendon before nailing North, and realized that it's not working here. We're like, we can't do that at North.
You know what?
Yeah.
North, I think it's a little bit more like Essendon still feels like family. Like it definitely feels like family. Like, everyone knows each other. We know like the Thursday ones, the Tuesday ones. It's like, we know each other. And we can be a little bit more understanding. Like, it's all right, Laura. Don't,
Like,
the
neon
don't
signs
worry.
were great.
Yeah, but North, it's like more into the city. And it's like, city, it's always like rushing. And it's like, the city people like come from the city as well, and it's like we don't have time for anything. It's like you're not working, okay, bye.
You're in, yeah. It's true. It's true.
And that definitely can be challenging because you come from the honeymoon, if you want to call it like that, in Essendon, that everyone's like really nice, like welcome, we can do this, and then go back to North, and it's like, oh, you need to be a little bit more alert because it's new. You're an independent studio, and that you're entering to a market, a massive market, because in the city, again, there's like a milk bars and then like Pilates studios, like it's in the same amount of like,
all around.
So totally understandable, and it can be challenging and definitely can like change your mindset on trying to compete, that you might forget of like what
exactly.
was the essence
the
of
essence,
it.
And so I think we definitely still captured like the fundamental essence, I think.
You do.
But like you're saying, it's true. I think also with Essendon, because it's like 8 years old, I feel like that time has also helped.
Yeah, definitely.
And
experience. You're more experienced on that one.
Or even just like the clients are so regular that everybody like has been coming for so long that even when new people come in, it's like, oh, you're just joining the family.
Yeah. We already know who are the new ones. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's suffer together.
Yeah. Join the club.
Join the club.
It's true. But so you're right. Like nothing comes easy.
Yeah.
And I also think that nothing worthwhile doesn't come without its challenges as well. And that's how we grow, and that's how we evolve as people.
Yeah.
So
that's the brief story.
That's the brief
story
one.
short.
Exactly. It is,
I think on the entrepreneur side, I want to ask you a couple of questions because out there's lots of people that they want to jump into the entrepreneurship, and sometimes we are full of doubts. And we just don't know how to give that step because, again, overthinking it's in our head. There's this bad tale of like everything's going to go wrong and I'm going to end up, in the rubbish bin, like asking
canceled,
for money. Canceled. Canceled or whatever. So I want to ask you a couple of questions.
Definitely.
That this might help to the people that it's
wanting to take
wanting
that
to take that in.
Yeah.
So the first one is, if you could go back and tell your younger self one thing before you started your business, what will it be?
Ooh. I think I would tell myself to just go for it more.
Yeah.
I think looking at how like reformer Pilates in general around the world has just like blown up. I didn't know that was like back then. I had no idea that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And it was very much like, oh, there was like one studio in an area and you're like, oh, you can't go there.
Yeah.
And now there's like 10 in every corner in Melbourne in particular. And then also expanding around the world, like with what Nathan's been to see, like Texas and like even in the UK, like everything's rapidly expanding. And I would tell myself to just go for it more. I think in that first couple of years, I hesitated on doing a second one. On the flip side of that, though, I do think everything happens for a reason. And I think you need to grow to be a certain person for the next phases too. And back then I didn't have the structure.
Yeah.
And I think over time you learn different skills too and just evolve like internally.
Yeah.
So I can see why it didn't, like I didn't, but I would also do like a little quiet whisper being like, just just go for it.
Yeah,
like you work it out
You're
as
gonna
you go
do it
anyway. Like everything, you grow through it no matter what. So that would be my one thing I would tell myself to just like back yourself more and go for it.
Good.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Good. If your business, I like this one.
Yeah.
If your business was a movie, who will play the lead role and what will the title be?
Okay, so I found this one challenging.
Scarlett Johansson.
Do you reckon?
Of course.
Oh my God, I'm so honored because I thought it like this was like because I saw your questions like prior to coming in, but then I also just read through them. I didn't like, but this is the one that I overthought, and I was like, oh my God,
like, I wish she doesn't.
I was like,
she
what?
Don't ask that.
What am I? But this is going to sound really funny, but when I was younger, I'm naturally really dark, like brunette, and I'm so grey. That's why I'm blonde. Just putting it out there, overshare. So when I was younger, a few people used to tell me I was a little bit like Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
But like, so I would probably say Sandra Bullock, like Miss Congeniality, but younger years.
Yeah.
And like that kind of quirky kind of.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? But I'll go with Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
Like I was going to say, who do you think? Yeah. And I think I would still have Rise in the movie title. Maybe something like Rise Up or Rise Up, bitches.
Rise up, motherfucker.
Yeah.
What's your proudest moment as an entrepreneur?
Oh, I do. I have a few, and I feel like they could be categorized because, like, some are like more studio based, like business based, and in that sense, I would say, like we got to work with a few big brands like Lululemon and just growing so much to have so many instructors, having clients hit huge milestones like 1,000 classes in the studio. Like that's amazing to have like somebody come to your studio and there's so many of them that just keep coming in milestones. And then personally, I was lucky enough to become a Lululemon ambassador for 3 years, which is like crazy. Having my photo in the wall in High Point was amazing.
Yeah.
I did teacher training with Breathe, like training trainers. I've done like massive MAP classes, again, like charities with like hundreds of people. I've had hundreds of people come to online classes during COVID. Saturday mornings, there was like crazy amount of people joining classes. And then training trainers, like that's so rewarding as well. And then watching how they grow and develop. But also watching a lot of my instructors go and open up their own studios too. and particularly one, Nat Adrizovic, who was with me from like day dot, when she went and opened her own studio in Port Melbourne, that was like the biggest proud mum moment. That I almost want to cry now.
My baby.
And she's like, she's still killing it. She's been there for 3 years. But on the other side where it's like with me and Finn, last year I got to take him to Boston to see the Celtics. And that was like a magical moment that like me back when he was little, there was like no way I would have been able to like even imagine that that was possible. So that was like a big pinch me moment to be able to do that with Finn and still have like the businesses running and successful. And yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, boss babe. Can you share a funny or memorable failure that you learned from?
Oh, there are so many failures. Like, honestly, like the list of failures versus like successes are like far outweigh it. But there are so many that like not many are coming to mind right now.
One that you told like, oh God, I just needed this. You know, when you're having thing after thing after thing, and then when you go back, you say like,
oh my God, I can't believe I did this.
I can't believe I did this to get, not to get where I am, but like, you know, that I even tried this for this success, or, you know.
I'm trying to think because there's definitely so many. Like so many. But not funny.
Failures are never funny. Yeah, failures definitely are never funny.
Now. I feel like last year was like one of my biggest trial and error years. And looking back now at like the sequence of how I did things, I was like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, why would you move the booking system and rebrand in the same week? Like, if I was coaching myself, I would be like, girl, what are you doing? Don't do that. Anyway, like me telling it to someone else is so obvious.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I just tried to rush everything before North Melbourne and
Yeah.
before like irrelevant things in my brain that didn't even matter.
Yeah.
I was trying to do everything all at once. So that's probably the biggest one. And at the same time, I put neon signs in the studio. It's like, when you say it out loud, it's like, what were you doing?
What were you thinking?
How to like ruin your perfect studio?
Yeah.
But yeah, we fixed it all now, and like learning curve, again, don't know really what that learning curve is just yet, but as time goes on, it always becomes super clear. So that's probably the most recent one that comes to mind, but early days there was heaps, like so many, like just the classes that we put on, like what we tried to do, stretch classes, like anyway. But people would ask for them and we didn't do it. Like no one would book them. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, I reckon that's probably the best one.
Good. There's something I haven't touched, and I definitely, before we wrap up, why rice?
Okay, so it's funny because there's like two versions of it, because there's my rise for Essendon and how I started it, but then also Nathan and I picked it in a different way too.
Okay.
And Rise North Melbourne wasn't always going to be Rise Pilates North Melbourne. It was going to be Rise Reform. So there's a different different story for both studio, but it's all Rise now. And it's so my starting Rise Pilates. So when I walked up, it's kind of like a little 360 now back to the start. So when I walked up and I was like, I know what to do, and I had the vision up there. Needed a lot of work. I had not thought about doing my own thing like at all up until that moment. Yeah. So I didn't have a name, hadn't even thought of a name, like even just for years later or anything. So this like the name was after signing the lease and everything too. I did have to have a business name. Yeah. Actually, I actually think I had to rush the business name to sign the lease.
Yeah.
Because I had to have obviously through the business. So I think anyway, and I remember just getting a piece of paper, and we're on Rose Street, Essendon.
Yes.
And I wanted a name that had deeper meaning, like to go from like a lower place to a higher place, and to have some sort of like, especially there's stairs there and like what we do in class and how it's like elevated my life. It needed to have that kind of rising, I'm using it, like that elevating feeling. So I just like wrote down all the words that I could, like, even get the thesaurus
Yeah.
out and, like, any word that felt like going from one place to another, da, da, da,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
lift, high, da, da, da. And then I looked at the street name and it was Rose, and I was like, oh, Rose Pilates. And like I remember, I'm pretty sure I've still got the piece of paper where I've like gotten to it at the end. And then changing the O to an I was Rise. And I was like, oh my God, that's what I'm trying to go for. I've got lift, I've got elevate, I've got Rise, Rose Street. I'm like, can't be Rose. And it can't be like, because then it would be like Pilates on like,
Rose.
on Rose. Like if we move, like wouldn't work. It'd be Pilates on Peel. Like it's like John Street Pilates on John.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like doesn't work. So I remember, getting to it at the bottom and then going, oh my God, that's it. Like Rose Street, Rise. We've got St. Rose underneath us. That like on the street, I wanted it to also kind of like
blend
in.
Yeah.
And I remember like circling it at the bottom, but then I put 13, which is our number, after it. So I had like Rise.
Rise 13.
And so when I actually saw it on my lease like last year when it came up again, and it had Rise 13 Pilates Proprietary Limited.
Yeah.
So for the first like 3 days, it had a 13 in it, and I was like, no, I paid $600 to get the 13 out of it. But because like it literally came, I had to come up with it within like days, like not even, like so quick, and like writing down and it just works so much.
It does.
Like it works so well. But I think that's the only place that it ever comes up that it was like had a 13.
13, yeah.
And then it just like Rise, just like we like Rise Pilates is the business name, but also everybody says Rise. So
Rise,
you know what it is. And then with Nath, same thing. Like it just really gelled. He loved Rise for the same reasons. And then we were going to go Rise Reformer.
Yep.
So North Melbourne was going to be Rise Reformer. But then as we started going down the rabbit hole and we started telling people, and they're like, oh, what's the difference? And it's like, there's not too much of a difference. Like it might have looked
in North Melbourne.
Yeah, the branding that we did for it was entirely different to how it ended up.
Yeah.
Like it's ended up very similar to the Essendon, like we were saying.
Yep.
But the original vision for it was nothing like it is. But as I think with a business and anything, if you can't just explain it to somebody really simply, it's just not going to land.
Yeah.
And there were so many people out there already who were like just going Rise Pilates, Rise Reform, it just didn't, like it was too close.
Yeah.
And also like it was already like websites, things like that. It's so much easier just to combine it all together and grow what's already there. So that's a
story.
No, that's the stories.
I love the name, and it definitely for those ones that haven't been in the studio in the Essendon one. When you enter, there's like these big stairs, and it says Rise at the end.
Yeah,
and it definitely like it pumps you. Like
when you're walking up,
when you walk, and you're just like, yes, I'm
and then when
rising.
you're walking down,
and
you've got the rail.
Oh God, this is the joke that I do every single class. That you need to start putting like either sacks for us to like slide down the stairs,
imagine.
or an elevator,
a little
because
slide.
Oh God, no.
We'll do half the stairs as like a little slide.
Yeah. We're just jumping, hugging, and like a firefighter pole.
Yeah. I did think that at the start. I was like, is there somewhere we can put an elevator? No.
Yeah. Oh God, that would be great.
No. It's extra exercise. We need it. Stairs, steps.
Oh, after 45 minutes of getting my ass kicked, I don't know. I don't know if I need that extra effort. No, you do. You do. Oh, well, Laura, has been a delight having you. Thank you very much for agreeing to do this and to be my godmother of this podcast. I'm genuinely grateful for having you in my life as a friend, as a mentor, as a teacher.
Ciao.
And hopefully we'll do part 2.
Yes, please. I would love that. Have me back.
We can bring the rest of the girls, and I'm pretty sure that's gonna go crazy.
Exactly. And I'm so proud of you. You're
Thank
a natural.
Thank you.
This is amazing, and you're doing the hard thing right now, and couldn't be prouder. You're amazing.
Let's see how these go. Thank you very much, Laura. I appreciate the effort and the time that you took to be here. I'm pretty sure there's way much more to come.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's going to be as successful as everything has been right now. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Love you. Mwah.
Thank you, everyone. I'll see you soon in the next episode of Sassy and Successful. Hopefully, you enjoyed this and see you soon. Thank you.